think in the midst of the current economic position of our country, there are few moments that we stop and pause and think about the value of higher education in helping the country to navigate the challenges that it has, and also in developing young people into the leaders of tomorrow. I think one of the critical focuses that the country has, and rightly so, is on basic education, as we've termed it. But that in itself is not sufficient for us to meet our developmental challenges.
We are at a situation where more and more young people like you and I need to come up and occupy that entrepreneurial space. Education becomes quite key. It's not by itself the beginning and the end of everything.
Some of them may have started businesses at home, be it spaza shops, but because maybe of a lack of an educational grounding, we still have that same spaza shop which was there before, and chances are it has been overtaken by a spaza shop that has been opened up by a Somali. Besides the formal schooling, there is also the schooling that comes from an apprentice that you get if your parents are entrepreneurs. There are things that she has to learn. She has to know how to read a balance sheet, market research, to marketing, to economics, to financial management, which are key, and even people management, because when a business grows, you engage people, you employ people, you know how to manage the people in your business, because actually it's the people that will build your business.
Entrepreneurship is so diverse. I went back to what the Oxford Dictionary says an entrepreneur is. And that is a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. For the most part, you need certain skills that will actually take your business from one level to another. You need the tools, and you also need the heart to be a better entrepreneur. Informal sector, do people need to have education there? Yes, I think education is such a great tool for everything. SMEs, maybe they need incubators, maybe they need executive courses. If you're going to be Steve Jobs, maybe you need much higher education. You need to look within and say, where am I pitching myself as an entrepreneur? And find the right support, educational support to actually help you achieve that.
And I think it's about time that we realize that more and more, some of the solutions that the government seeks actually reside in you and I. If you look at the training of somebody like me who spent 6 years in medical school, you've never seen a balance sheet, you've never seen a cash flow statement, you've never seen anything of that sort, you've never been in a strat session, you've never, and yet after 6 years, you're gonna come out and somehow through your experience, you'll be expected to be able to run a hospital. It just simply doesn't wash. But what's important is for you to be able to realize where you need to get help and be able to have the boldness about you to go out and get it.
I think there's quite a bit of incoherence in the world right now, with some areas moving towards regional integration and others actually choosing to separate from one another. I think on the African continent there is definitely a move towards regional integration.
There needs to be regional integration. I mean, let's be honest. It doesn't make sense for me to leave South Africa and go to Kenya and need a visa, and then the next day you're going to Ghana, you need a visa. Practically, it doesn't work. It needs to change. The differences, though, are cultural.
Dr. Mabanda did state that any business must solve a problem. So maybe some of us who are struggling to find a business, if you can solve the problem of bad service, you have a business there. And then in terms of businesses that have products, is the product good enough? It doesn't have. You can have the world's best product, but if you have not marketed it, it's as good as useless. The question is, what do we know about South Africa business-wise? What is one thing that stands out that we can market within ourselves, in South Africa, to other African countries, and to the world? And until we actually identify that niche, we will always use other people's products.
In the space that you're operating in as an entrepreneur, networks, everything.
I've paid a huge price for not working, and that's one of the things that actually came up as part of areas for me to develop.
People do business with people that they know. Full stop. I know somebody can spin it and say it's nepotism, it's this and that, but that's 101 of doing business. Why should I do business with you when I don't know you?
How do we convert the tenderpreneurs into entrepreneurs? The kid gets to see this and is, hey, I want the tender also.
We have seen people who are not entrepreneurs offering those services or those goods to the government because they are in it for the money, they're not in it for the long haul. That's why you see even the standard of services or goods. They are not witnessing sacrifice that is needed in entrepreneurship. They are not witnessing hard work that is needed in entrepreneurship. What they are witnessing is they're witnessing flash of opulent life, good life, with no sweat, which is a challenge to the next generation. I'm aware that right now most of the young people actually will want to do tenders than to be a medical doctor.
We've been very preoccupied with a throughput system that puts everybody through the 12th grades at school and then hope for a miracle to happen somewhere in the end.
The model has to change a bit. It's not always about going to university. It's how else do we bring education that will actually help people to be employable or help them to be entrepreneurs. And I think building entrepreneurship into high schools is such a fundamental thing. But is it always entrepreneurship, or do we actually open up FET colleges and teach those youngsters entrepreneurship? You know, sometimes we always look to government to do things, to do everything. What are you doing about it? Let us start being the people that we want South Africa to end up being in our personal lives.
Someone who never even sold sweets in primary school, it becomes difficult for that person to say, start a business. Because this person has been fine-tuned, has been trained to be cannon folder for capitalists, which is to be labor, basically. We can start making a change one by one as individuals here. A quote from Mother Teresa: if everyone was to sweep their immediate doorstep, the world will be a cleaner place.
Education is more than school, it's more than FET, it's more than university. Entrepreneur is about experience. You really, really have to believe in who you are. You have to have the courage to fail. You have to be able to work to the nth degree. People want to see passion. They don't want to see some halfway thing. The main thing is curiosity.
We all agree that what's happening to our education system is actually a travesty. The fact that the very schools that we pay so heavily ultimately produce people that are unemployable. Even universities produce people at honors level, master's level that are unemployable. You still have to teach them the basics before you can get them to levels that are particularly acceptable to business. Let's sensitize our kids to being dependable, and they should depend on themselves to create employment.
How do you find the passion? Perhaps therein is the passion, in those things that you just do. They are you, and your friends know that that's who you are. Those are the things that are dear to your heart, and the question now becomes, how do you formulate them and package them in such a way that it's something that will solve somebody's problem?
I read this thing from Dr. John Yang and said, in my opinion, entrepreneurship is a matter of the heart and education is a matter of the brain. It is difficult to teach a heart.
People who have an inbuilt love for entrepreneurship is between 5 and 15% of the population. Not everyone can be an entrepreneur. But again, the entrepreneurial skills can be learned. We are well aware that the Western world is aging. You talk about America, they have an aging population. What do we have in Africa? Youth. And studies have been done that Africa have one of the world's best resources. I'm not talking about the mineral resources, I'm talking about the human capital. And land-wise as well, we have a lot of land which is unused. And all these are resources that we can actually use to create our opportunities in there. So we have a lot of advantages in Africa if only we see the opportunities. Let's not wait for somebody in another continent to come and see opportunities. And we have seen it. Do you know how many companies are actually establishing their head offices in South Africa? Because South Africa, they say, is the best African country. And there's a reason why they're doing that. They have seen opportunities that we are not seeing.
Making money and becoming an entrepreneur are totally different things.
If you're an entrepreneur and you're driven by the money, you're actually doing it for the wrong reason. You must be driven by something else.
It's critical that as an entrepreneur you make money, because if you don't make money, you'll go down.
Yes.
Stress levels will go up. When you come together, when you put minds together, you may start seeing opportunities, and then we collaborate, which is, I think, is one big thing that we are lacking in Africa, collaboration. Some of us are very good speakers. You can go to a school and talk to the principal and say, okay, can I maybe assemble 15 minutes, I want to just talk to young people. You never know how many lives you may change.